Chase,
Yeah, what's up?
hey,
How you doing, buddy?
I am doing okay. I bumped up the volume from the last caller so loud that you are who are coming in like beautifully clear are blowing my ears out. So let me just bump that down a little bit. Can you say something again?
Yeah, why don't you bump that volume down a little bit?
Appreciate it. All right, Chase, are you still in Idaho?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Let me put your information here. That way I can get you in the lower third. What did you want to talk about today?
Street epistemology and confidence level in Christianity being untrue.
Ooh, all right. Uh, Chase, what are your pronouns?
He, him.
All right. I have got you. Okay, so what about street epistemology?
Let's see. So I had this cool conversation with my buddy Pierce Watkins. Has a great YouTube channel about street epistemology, and he interviewed me about my claim that Christianity is or the God of that Christianity is not true, or the God of Christianity is not real. I think was the claim. The God of Christianity is not real,
Okay.
and my confidence level in that claim was 97%. So I was highly confident, but not fully confident. You know, I could be more confident. But you're familiar with street epistemology, but some of the viewers might not be. So maybe we need to talk about that a little bit first.
Chase, you read my mind. Yeah. Um,
Nice.
let me tell you what I know. I know that there was a book that came out. It was called A Manual for Creating Atheists. It was by, oh, what was his name?
Peter
Boghossian. That's right. Sounds like explosion. Um, and A Manual for Creating Atheists was um, really like it, it got a lot of people's hackles up when it came out. And it turns out that Peter Boghossian was kind of a dick, which is really, really interesting because outlined in A Manual for Creating Atheists is this idea of street epistemology, right? Epistemology we talk about a lot on this show. It's, how you know the things that you know. And so the idea of street epistemology is having casual conversations out and about with people about, what they believe and why, and whether or not they have good reasons to. And Boghossian was a lot more he was a lot more intense with the way that he interacted, but you had somebody who really, really had this incredible heart, Anthony Magnabosco, right?
Yeah, Anthony Magnabosco.
Yeah, who started recording himself going on a walking trail and just talking to people, doing that street epistemology, but doing it in a way that was approachable and empathetic and had really, really good feedback. You had people who were having conversations with Anthony who were coming out later and being like, oh my gosh, I've completely walked away from my faith because I was asked a good question that I really researched and went, hey, that was the thread that undid the sweater when you pulled it enough. Um, and so you have this growth of street epistemologists, people who are going out and having conversations a lot like Anthony, right? I feel like the through line is that kind of empathetic approach that you have,
Yeah.
this is my percent of how confident I am in the claim, and let's see how that confidence changes. It's a good way of asking people how confident they are in their beliefs of things. And if it's 100%, well, that gives you an indication of the kind of conversation you're going to have. And if they say 95%, it's a very different conversation. One is more likely
Yeah.
to listen with an open mind. And so that's my take on street epistemology. What do you got?
Yeah, I think that's a good summation. Yeah, it's basically, the opposite of a debate. It's a productive way or a tool of having productive conversations in a polite way where one person is just asking questions of the other person and being from a neutral perspective pretty much, and not inserting their own opinions and stuff, but just asking questions, challenging questions to see what someone believes, why they believe it, and if those are good reasons for holding the belief.
No.
And yeah, there's a lot of great YouTube channels like Anthony Magnabosco is a great street epistemology channel, and my buddy Pierce Watkins, and So yeah, I find it's a great tool for, some of the questions would be, like you said, like how confident are you? What could increase your confidence? What could decrease your confidence? What is like the best alternate explanation? Like if you were wrong, what do you think is the best second explanation for this phenomenon? Whether it's a belief that gun control is good or gun control is bad or God exists or God doesn't exist or veganism or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, I
And yeah,
I love
so
that.
so yeah, so I think we wrapped up like what street epistemology is. And so then if you want, we can move into my specific claim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So yeah, again, my claim was that the God of Christianity is not real, and my confidence level was 97%. So I could have been more confident, but I was pretty confident. But I guess I'm wondering, like, do you think that that confidence level is appropriate or too high or too low? What would yours be and why? My main reasons was the amount of contradictions in the Bible,
Yeah.
and but also unscientific things and things that go against history, and but yeah, a lot of contradictions.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that I approached this in a very similar way initially, and just as an aside, Anthony Magnabosco was one of the first people that I met who was a atheist celebrity. When I started getting into atheist, all of the stuff, when I moved to Texas and went to an atheist community of Austin event, and I was the first person there. The second person was Anthony, and I just like geeked out for a while talking to him. Just the sweetest guy. Was absolutely
Yeah.
weirded out that I was so excited to meet him. Um, but anyway, what the position that I've come to is actually changed over time. I think that I can't give a percentage because when I talk about the God of the Bible, like I have an understanding of the Bible, and when I read it very, very literally. I go across. I have a deep understanding of contradictions and things that didn't happen. I also have a pretty solid understanding of the history of um, the land at that time. I did a lot of research for months with my friend Thomas Westbrook. I was helping him with his channel, Holy Kool-Aid, and we went for months, deep, deep, deep into the history of the conquest of Canaan. And so, Numbers, Kings, Judges, um, even further back into, the Exodus. I've got a really, really solid understanding of those. And so I can say, oh, my understanding of the Bible, that God absolutely does not exist. I'm highly, highly confident. I'll never say 100% because I feel like you can't walk away from that, but that is what I have said in the past. But I've met so many Christians who have so many interesting views of Christianity. And I think that Christianity as a term is so fluid. It changes so much. In fact, even, in broad, in broad brush strokes, um, the way Christians view themselves has changed in the last 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. It's consistently kind of a living, um, well, it's a living people group, and it's changing with the values of the people. And so because of that, I often wait until I hear what their definition is before I give a confidence level at all.
Okay. What if we were to, and that's a good answer. I hear you. What if we were to say a biblical, like literal interpretation of the Bible that God um, does not exist? What would your confidence level be?
100%.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting. And what would your
But
main reasons be?
yeah, because if you're asking for a literal interpretation, you're using my literal interpretation. And so the way that I read it, there are just impossibilities throughout, and things that have been proven to be wrong. That we can show that what, like, I'll go back to Genesis and Exodus, right? Let's start from the beginning. In Genesis, it says that there was one man and one woman. Our understanding of evolution shows that that's not the case. If you don't have that, then you don't have sin. That's where sin enters the equation, and sin is the entire reason that the New Testament was important, or at least the books that concern, Jesus, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and then later Paul writing, all had to do with absolution of sin and being redeemed into heaven. Without sin, you don't have that. Without Adam and Eve, you don't have sin. And we know there was never a time where that was the case, just with the way that our biology came about. Moving forward, it just best reflects a people telling the story about themselves than it does an accurate historical account of the way things happened. What you would expect from the Exodus from Egypt, if a huge people group were to leave, they would leave expectedly stuff along the way that would show that they were there. And that's just not the case. We don't see evidence of a broad exodus out of Egypt into Canaan. We also do have historic evidence of the Jewish people actually having come from Canaan. That they were Canaanites, and that they weren't stomped out the way that it's described. With Joshua, coming through. So out the gate, all of all of the stories about God giving those commandments, because we don't have a historic evidence for that. I think that's wrong. I don't think we have biological evidence for that. I don't think that we have evidence for sin, and then just moving on and on and on. I think that point by point, my understanding of the Bible would show that no, it's just impossible.
Okay. And if you're at 100%, does that mean that there's nothing that could increase your confidence that the God of the Bible is not real?
I'm pretty, I'm there. I'm not.
Okay. And
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And does that also mean that are you saying that you're not open-minded to any possibility of being wrong?
Oh, I'm absolutely open-minded to it. But the thing is, you would need to hit a lot of things before really even hitting the gut question. You would need to answer the biology thing. You would need to show evidence of a soul. You would need to show evidence of a heaven or hell or sin or any of those things interacting. You would need to show evidence of intercessory prayer working, if that's in the equation, right? You need to show that it's possible and then determine that it's probable. And that would shake those things for me, but that's where you do.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. You already answered the question, which was going to be like, what could move you down in your confidence level?
Yeah.
Even if it's a big hypothetical, hard to think about because, you got such a strong list, I think,
Yeah.
And so, let's see, I'm kind of running street epistemology on you now.
No worries. So Chase, I have a question for you. How important is existence? And can something exist as a concept and not as a literal physical thing?
I think so. Yeah. A concept would probably just be something a non-physical, manifestation from a physical thing, the mind-brain thing.
Okay.
I guess.
Well,
I'm not sure, though.
No, it's okay. I'm gonna take you somewhere that's gonna make you severely uncomfortable.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, we do have another caller, but I want to have fun with this for a little bit. Okay, so I'm talking about, I don't know, characters in books, right? Did Johnny Tremaine exist?
I don't know who that is, but they exist in a figurative sense, but not in a literal, like you can reach out and touch the dude or whatever.
Okay, but how about Tom Sawyer? Harry Potter?
Unless I don't know if that was based on a real story or not.
But even if it's based, the character is fiction. So you would agree that non-physical things can exist as concepts, right?
Sounds like it, yeah.
Okay. What if I define something to exist?
Find something to exist?
Mm-hmm. So I say, this cell phone that I'm holding in my hand. I'm sure there's a delay, but I'm holding a cell phone in my hand and I'm defining it as blue, about the size of my hand, and it exists. Would you say that's an accurate description of it?
Probably, yeah. I'll take in your word on it, yeah, because I'm not watching the stream.
Cool. Okay. So I'm going to define a God that is maximally powerful and exists.
Yeah, you can do that all you want. Don't make it true.
Well, by definition, it does.
Well, by definition, definition. That don't mean nothing to me. You need to give me better evidence for it,
Well, so what I'm doing is I'm giving you a piece of what's in William Lane Craig's version of the Kalam cosmological argument. He talks about God having certain properties, one of those properties being existence. What if I told in existence is being used as a descriptive word, right? In the same way that something is blue or so big or weighs so much, existing being an adjective. Are you following still?
Yeah, but I'm just seeing couldn't this apply to a unicorn or something?
Yep, absolutely. Here's how you get out of it. If somebody pins you on this, here's how you get out of it. You ready?
Uh-huh.
Existence is not an adjective.
Yeah, that sounds about right too. It just is a thing. It's more of a noun.
Actually, no.
Or a verb.
No.
Is it a verb?
It's not. People treat it like a verb, but it's not. So, how much do you know about computer programming or how video games are made? No. Okay. So when you think about existence has to be there before you can get any descriptors on it, right? It is the framework that things are put on, right? Try to describe something that doesn't exist. You can't. You at least need to have a concept, and then you can describe the concept. But if it is absolutely nothing, if there is no existence in any way, there's no way to put those descriptors onto it, right? If I'm describing an apple, I can describe it as green or red, sour, firm, soft, on the tree, rotten, all of these different descriptors for the apple. But if you close your eyes and you imagine just a wire frame that underneath that apple, and you imagine that it's that framework that you're able to put all of those descriptors on. That framework is existence. And because of that, it is not an adjective, it's not a verb, it's not a noun, but it is a prerequisite to all of those things. And because of that, you can never use existence as a descriptor. It's just it's miscategorizing the word.
Okie dokie. So how does it tie back into what we were talking about?
So it ties back in because when you're talking about whether or not you're confident that a God exists, I could say that God exists, but it exists as a concept. 100%.
Sure. Yeah, I wasn't really talking about that so much. I was talking about concretely existing in, a more substantial way.
Okay. But my definition of a God that I swear you guys, I'm not going to stick with this for too much longer, but I'm having way too much fun. I'm putting on the hat here, Jay. So my definition of God is that God is a maximal being. That God is the most of anything you can imagine. That's how I define that God. And wouldn't you agree that existence is better than non-existence?
I find all kinds of weirdness with this line of questioning, and I don't know how to answer it.
No worries. These are all apologetics, but these are all apologetics that have bounced up against. And with this, the next thing you go is, okay, well, the one that doesn't exist is a lesser one. The one that I believe in is the one that is better. And that one is one that would exist. And so by definition, a maximal being has to exist.
Okay. Well, can I ask you one last question and then let you get to another caller?
Chase, please. I feel like I'm doing just intense navel gazing at the moment. Hit me.
It's all good. I was just going back a bit. I'm wondering, you had given a lot of reasons for why you are at 100%, and you gave those same reasons, if those were to be undone for some reason, it would decrease your confidence that the God is not real, the literal God of the Bible. And I'm just wondering if those things weren't true, or rather, if they were, I don't know how to say this, but what would be the best alternate explanation? Like, what would be the explanation for how you had been wrong, if you were wrong, which I don't think you are, and it's a big if, but if you were wrong about all those things, how would that be the case?
Yeah. Um, so almost everything that you can imagine is more likely than that God, which is funny. I think that the God concept that I understand is one that has so many different abilities, right? Not only the ability to be everywhere all at once, to read your mind, to know your future, to know your past, and everything like that for everyone all of the time. Even a God that knew less, was slightly less powerful, is infinitely more likely because each of those things are just insane. So if you had a god that could only create universes and then never interact and just poofed out of existence, maybe it was such a big effort that that god died in the process of making the universe. I think that is way more likely because that god does not have to have the ability to survive the instantiation of the universe, but also, all of the other attributes that we ascribe to him. Right? What about a god that um, was interventionary, but was a dick? I think that would be way more likely because that would explain a whole lot more about the world around us. But that would take that would take the loving part out. Really, any version of a god with just any of those pieces taken out is infinitely more likely.
I guess what I was trying to get at, like, is if we were incorrect or had been deceived, what would that look like? Would it be that and that Christianity was true?
Oh,
Does that mean that maybe somehow like demons got into the literature and twisted the science to deceive us all, or what?
Yeah. So that would be 1 second.
We don't have to keep going.
No. I have the answer for you. It's not Kant. What is his name?
Or like, what if we like Rene Descartes, or what?
Thank you, Descartes' demon.
Yeah, or how do we know that we weren't born yesterday and these are all false memories? Yep. And that the God is actually true,
I would say that if I was totally wrong about all of it and all of that did exist, then I would, like, Descartes' demon, I think would be a good place to be like, okay, well then I don't have access to reality.
Do you want to summarize Rene Descartes' demon real quick?
Sure, and then I'm going to move on to the next call.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, so Rene Descartes, he famously said, I think, therefore I am. He was the person who said, I'm going to apply skepticism, and the reason he wanted to do this is because he wanted to prove skepticism wrong in the first place, and he wanted to show that that you can build up with certainty, because skepticism was going the other direction, right? And skepticism was essentially saying that if you ask why over and over again, you're going to get to a point where you say, I don't know. And Rene Descartes wanted to show that, no, you can build a solid foundation and you can have whys all the way down. And so he started questioning his faculties. Okay, what if I'm in a dream and my understanding of the world around me is actually just a figment of my imagination? Well, if that's the case, then I know that at least colors are real and all of that, because those concepts come from somewhere. And then he went, okay, well, what if, and just kind of going back and back and back and back and back, and finally got to the point where he said, okay, what if I don't have any kind of connection to reality at all? That there was a demon that was confounding my senses and preventing me from understanding anything. Sight, smell, sound, all of them were just projections from this demon. I don't have any access to reality. Well, if anything, the fact that I am thinking gives me at least full confidence that I exist. Cogito ergo sum, right? I think, therefore I am. And then where he went from there is stupid, but it's a conversation for another day. The demon that he describes, is one that would confound his ability to rationally interact with the world. And I think that if you were to say, Eric, you were wrong about all of it, that miracles happen every day, then I would have to say that I'm obviously not able to interact with the world, because in everything that I've evaluated, that hasn't been the case. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, I'd say Descartes' statement.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I really appreciate the conversation.
Me too. Thank you, Chase. I appreciate it.
All right, see ya.
See ya. V, if they were sitting next to me, would have turned and walked away. And I don't feel bad about that at all.